Welcome back to the show, friends. Today we're going to dive into a conversation about 1 degree shifts, or we call incremental shifts. But before we dive in, I just like to check in and make sure that my co-host here is doing good. And how are you doing today?
Good. I'm laughing because I wanted to call this podcast Taking a Shift.
I did not see that coming. Taking a shift. We should take shifts more often.
Yeah. Make shifts. Make shifts in life.
So that's it.
Yeah.
That's all you have.
I'm doing great. I was just thinking I'm not loving the coffee that we have right now. I'm getting a little spoiled with the lattes, but probably getting a latte every day isn't a real sustainable strategy. So I'm going to propose to you
it's not the incremental shift that I want to make in my life towards where we want to be. You know, you got to figure out.
I might propose an idea to you that we get an espresso machine again.
And where are you going to put this espresso machine? Because I know how you like clutter.
Yeah, I like open counter space.
Yeah,
but I also like good coffee.
So here's the problem. Every time we think we want to have something new in the kitchen or whatever, then it's like it's out for 2 days and then it disappears. And it has some special hiding place. And I have to, every time I want to use it, I have to figure out, where did she put it this time?
It's in the cabinet. Like, no, the one above that one.
The one up there. You got to get a ladder out to get it out, to put it on the counter, to use it, to then unplug it and put it back away with the ladder.
Yeah, I even put the toaster away. So yeah.
The blender,
appliance garages. I think those were actually a great idea. They need to come back. Anyway, we digress. I'm doing great. I'm thinking about an espresso machine. It's on my list of I'm
in. I like lattes.
We did that list about a year and a half ago of 100 things. Was it 100 things we want? 101 things we want.
It's a great exercise. And anybody, just what's interesting about the 101 exercises, you get to about 25, between 25 and 40, and it gets real.
Yeah, you've covered all the major stuff. So
all the things that don't matter are out of the way. And then now it's like, oh, I have to really think about this. 101 things you want. You want to experience, you want to acquire, you want to do, you want to be, you want to see. Anyway, this is not what the podcast is about.
But one of the things I did put on that list is I was reviewing it recently, which was really cool because I was able to cross off a lot of things that have happened that we've accomplished and that we have.
This is our list we did together.
We did it together about the same time we were moving into this house when we were down in Carlsbad, California.
I'd like to see that list.
Yeah. And one of the things on the list was an espresso machine. So there you go. Well, let's check that one off.
What are you waiting for?
Anyway, let's get to the topic for today.
That's a Rocky quote, in case you are wondering. That was my best.
I really couldn't tell because the impersonation was not.
Well, it's the part where she's in the hospital.
Yeah.
And she asks him to do one thing, and he leans in and she says, "Wait."
Yeah.
And then Mick stands up and goes, "What are we waiting for?"
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great segue. So you want to make some changes in life. What are we waiting for? Let's talk about these incremental shifts. Let's talk about making a shift.
I think sometimes people are waiting to make shifts and to create change because of their previous experience of trying and it not succeeding. Of trying to be on, which I don't do. We don't do diets, but let's say you want to lose some weight, which I went up and down in that journey for years before I finally took it all off. Whether you wanted to start working out, you want to start eating healthier, like the fitness and well-being, health is a wonderful example for this. But even if you had some big vision of writing a book or starting a business or just wanting an intention to be a better parent or have a better relationship, these things do not happen overnight. And there's a thing that happens, right? Where around this time of year of New Year's, not this time of year, but I'm saying the New Year's time of year where people are like, all right, New Year's resolution. All right, this year, this is it. I'm going to do it. And you get real motivated. You might even get really connected to a vision, but then January 15th rolls around or February 15th or whatever it is, a month or two later, and you completely has derailed, right? And the reality is that New Year's resolutions do not work for a reason. And I'm not going to go into the science behind it, but legitimately there is a science behind it, right? That we try to take on too much too much change at one time, legitimately our nervous system and the biology of our body can't keep up with this new idea that you have. And the 1 degree shifts that we're talking about is making incremental shifts in different areas of your life. And we can identify some different areas of our lives we can, and practices that go into this. But just imagine that for a moment. Let's just span back and just say, okay, instead of ever taking on like, I'm going to start working out 5 days a week and eat nothing but whole foods and I'm gonna, or whatever.
Right. I'm not going to, I'm going to cut out all sugar. I'm going to cut out all gluten. I'm going to cut out all,
I'm not saying that ever, by the way,
all of this stuff.
because sugar's in chocolate, right?
Yeah.
So the whole cutting out sugar thing is a no bueno for me ever.
Yeah.
Because
Chocolate's a non-negotiable for me.
love chocolate. Anyway,
we love chocolate.
I could try to eat less chocolate incrementally.
But, and then also you have to kind of ask yourself the question. It's like, all right, well, and we'll get more into this, but why do I want to, what is the reason behind wanting to do something or make a change? I mean, for me, I don't have a good enough reason to stop eating chocolate. Like I could still achieve my health goles while eating chocolate. So why would I stop?
I think I said this to you the other day. We're getting off rail here, but I'm like, I decided I'm gonna stop trying to eat less. I'm just gonna exercise more.
You're just gonna train more.
Yeah. Because I like to eat and I like to train. And so I'll just do both those things. So it's just all good. Anyway, so let's get to this. Okay, so 1 degree shifts, incremental shifts. I'm going to start this conversation with this. I want you to think in terms of a longer span of time, right? We want things to be different. Everybody knows this. This is part of our human experience. It's desire. It's the evolutionary pulse. Good. We want things to be different. Good. That's what keeps us moving forward as a species, right? So determine what it is you want to be different. That's like the starting point in any area of your life. Business, your personal life, within relationship to yourself, marriage, connection, relationship, parent, whatever, right? Parenthood, whatever it is that you want to shift. You want to spend more time doing this, X, Y, Z, however it is. Determine what that is, right? And then allow for your mind. We always want to see the end before we begin. So allow for your mind to span some horizons for a moment and see yourself 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year from now. And what if you made an incremental shift over time, where could you potentially be? And the really important thing for you to understand is that just imagine this 1 degree, or one would say 1% better every day. You probably have heard that in certain circles or realms, right? To be 1% better every day in every way, right? I don't know if that comes from SEALs or where that comes from. If that Mark Divine, is that Mark Divine that talks about 1%? I don't know who originally, but it's not like it's somebody's. It's not like it's been trademarked. So 1% better or 1 degree shift. I like the degree more than the idea of being 1% better, because the outcome is you are 1% better, or even a compound effect. So this is, let me finish this thought and then you can go into it. So put a pin, please. If I make it every day, the rest of my life, a 1 degree shift, the compound effect of that over the long haul will be greater than a 1% increase every day. So what I mean by that is, if you could imagine where you are, if you make a 1 degree shift for 3 months every day, right? Where you're going to be 90 degrees facing having a different experience 90 days from today.
Yeah.
Can you imagine your life with your mental and emotional well-being, with your physical health, with your relational experience, being 90 degrees difference, facing a completely different direction in life if you just make a 1 degree shift?
It's huge. I was just picturing okay, maybe where you're at right now, if you're listening and you're thinking of a specific area in your life where you feel like, man, I've just been stuck in this area for so long and I've tried to make bigger changes and it hasn't worked. And it's frustrating and kind of overwhelming to think about changing it. It almost feels like you're standing, like I'm thinking of what you're saying about you're doing this 90-degree turn. It's like you're standing and you're facing a brick wall. And it's like, ah, man, I just can't see another, view, another direction. But you just start to make these little subtle pivots, these little shifts, and pretty soon you're like, turn around, the wall is behind you, and you have nothing but like limitless, expansive, beautiful landscape and places to go.
Yeah, I think
Shift away from that experience that feels constricted.
it's a very simple but not
Mhm.
easy practice.
Yeah.
Right. It's very simple. And it's hard for one to be able to like conceptualize the power of this practice.
Mhm.
Right. A friend of ours, Liz, if you're listening, hi, in Australia, she posted a quote the other day to go as far as you can see. And then once you get
Mhm.
there, you'll be able to see further. Right. If you remember,
Mhm.
I had that on the door as I walked out of the house into the garage, leaving the house every day for years
Yeah, at our old house.
at our old
Mhm.
house. I had printed it off, typed it up, and said, go as far as you can see.
Mhm.
Right. And some days, like I could only see a few feet in front of my face, but you go that far. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the idea, is that you're not going to be able to see the results. Like this is where
Mhm.
it takes a level of fortitude and belief and faith to know, like, if I make this 1-degree shift, I understand that's going to help me, but I have to release this attachment that I'm going to see the benefits right away.
Mhm.
Right. I have to kind of hold the end in mind while I continue to make these 1-degree shifts. But I promise you something without any hesitation whatsoever. I absolutely promise you that if you take on this mindset of incremental shifting or 1-degree shifts, then you will, at a point in time, again, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 180 days, 360 days from now, you'll be able to look back and be like, wow,
Mhm.
look at that. Right. That's has been my experience every single time. And whether it's building a business or focusing on my health, and there's some times where it's like, I got 5 minutes. I'm going to do 20 squats. All right. And then I'm going to do 10 push-ups and
Mhm.
whatever. And like, that's my exercise for today, but it's all I had time for.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing. It's that 1-degree shift
Yeah.
or incremental improvement.
I was just talking to someone about this the other day. They were talking about the desire to want to work out, right?
Mhm.
And okay, I know I need to work out and I need to eat better and all of these things. And working out doesn't have to be for an hour and a half session every day.
Oh,
It
yeah.
can be like the idea that we talked about was exercise snacks, right?
Yeah.
Just like a little bite. Just take a little bite of exercise, 10 push-ups,
Yeah.
right? A couple squats. So how can you integrate those little micro goals into your day so that it doesn't feel like you're trying to bite off something huge? It's like, okay, just I can do this.
Yeah.
Little tiny little shifts at a time.
I think about that as like setting a minimum. So we
Yeah.
talk about setting minimum. So if you want to start this practice,
Mhm.
pick something that's a routine. Maybe it's water, or a morning routine of breath work or meditation. Maybe it's reading. You want to start reading more. Maybe it's exercise. Okay. Maybe it's your nutrition and your eating. Maybe it's a gratitude journaling practice. Right. Maybe it's I don't know, whatever. Pick one.
Yeah,
Pick
it
one.
might
Pick
be
one.
if you want to
Pick
be
one.
more, maybe you want to be more social. And so there's like, okay, as a minimum, I want to engage more. I want to be more social with people because I recognize that that's something that's good for my mental and emotional health. And I think ever since, things with COVID and people working from home, we can be pretty isolated in our own little bubble from day to day. So if that's a goal, that's something maybe you haven't thought of, but maybe that's a goal for you where you think, I'd really like to have more social interaction. What is a micro goal or like a minimum that you could set around that? I'm going to reach out to one person each day. I'm going to send a message. I'm going to send a voice memo. I'm going to hop on the phone. And when I do that, maybe I'll have the intention, and whether this part happens or not, it's okay. If you're still doing the output to take the action, I'll have the intention to set up a time, maybe to have coffee with someone in person or go for a walk with a friend. So as I do this minimum every day of reaching out to one person and having the intention of wanting to take that relationship further and get together in person, because nothing really trumps in-person interaction. You just can't top that with, anything digital, but that could be a minimum, right? One person a day. I'm going to interact with one person a day. I'm going to go out to the grocery store, or the post office, or wherever I'm going, and I'm going to interact with someone. I'm going to compliment someone's, hey, I love those shoes that you have on. I'm going to interact.
Well, just, a lot of people have a harder service, right? They want to serve, they want to help people, they want to, contribute, right? This is, again, a human need. We've talked about this on multiple podcasts before. Like it's natural for us to want to give back and be significant and contribute and have our life have meaning and purpose and significance. Yes, good. So how about a tiny random act of kindness every single day?
I love that. Yeah.
So a minimum, let's define that.
Yeah. And it also could be, it doesn't have to be daily for a minimum. It could be once a week, or once a month, once a quarter, once a year. I'm going to do something as a random act of kindness.
That's right. So yeah. So here is what we consider to be a minimum. Minimum is your no matter what, non-negotiable. I'm doing this for myself. I don't care if I'm on vacation. I don't care what day of the week it is. This is what I do, right? And I don't care how small that is. Like legitimately, this is how we help people build successful routines that fuel their lives, is through incremental progression. So it may start, and I have a group right now that's in week 3 of our program for integrated mindset, and they're a younger group. They're in their 20s, and so a lot of this is still really, really fresh to them. A lot of this content is really kind of expanding their minds, and they maybe not have done as much reading as somebody who's in their 40s or whatever. And so I had a couple of the clients like, what if your beginning morning routine started off with, you're just going to have a glass of water. And that's it. That's your minimum. That's your no matter what. That's how doable is that? We need water anyway. So to get up, start your day and have a glass of water. So let's just say you have a health journey that you want to go on, right? Stop, because what happens is we take on this New Year's resolution type of mindset, whether it's, what is today, the 24th of May, or whether it's January 1st, doesn't matter. Same thing happens. We get motivated. It's summer. It's swimsuit season, right? So I'm going to try to lose 10 pounds. Body. You got to try to get that beach body, which is interesting as you get older. And so
all bodies are beach bodies, just so you know.
So you just completely derailed my train of thought.
Here's what I would say about a starting small and an incremental shift is it should be something that you can do on your worst day. Right? On the day that you are maybe even not feeling well, physically not feeling well, what is the minimum thing that you could get done in that day? So you're talking about have a glass of water first thing.
So my point was this, is that we tend to set this big goal, achievable or unachievable, doesn't really matter. It's just so big that it causes enough resistance where then you don't stick with it. And now you're actually teaching your brain how to fail. You're teaching yourself, you're teaching your system that I set big goals that are really important to me. I really want this thing. I'm going to start working out every day. Wednesday rolls around, Thursday rolls around. You didn't stick to what you had set out to do. You're going to run every day or whatever it is, right? And CrossFit mentality of, whatever. Right. And you don't do it. And so then there's a belief that's created, or an unworthiness that is fortified, that I don't deserve this, and I'm not good enough for this, and I'm not disciplined enough. And we go into all this incredible story that has only thing to do is the fact that you just didn't understand the human experience enough to be able to break it down into incremental shifts that allow for you to progress there. Can you imagine a life where you did this for 2 to 3 years? I can, because this is exactly how I've lived my life. For years now, I've been incremental shifting my way to where we currently are. In health, in marriage, in business, in every aspect of life. I continue to go, oh, well, I want that to be different. Cool. What is a tiny little 1 degree shift that I can make tomorrow and then execute it? And then it's sustainable. Right. And the momentum component of that 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, that it becomes really, really easy to make more and different shifts and to be more flexible. Right. And to have, and just an awareness like, oh, that's something I want to be different. Okay, cool. Game plan it, see it, and then make the shift towards it.
And you can also ask yourself the question, it's like, all right, so I want to be more healthy. I want to be fit. I see that person over there and they look like they're really in shape, and that's inspiring to me. Cool. Comparison can work for us in a great way in that sense, that we can see something that someone else has, whether it be in a relationship or health wise or business, where we go, wow, yeah, I'd like to have that. I'd like to be living that life that person is. So, okay, then I ask myself, well, what would that person be doing? What does that person's morning routine look like? What does that person's fitness routine look like? And I don't have to go all the way there, but what's one small shift I can do today to get myself closer to where I ultimately want to be? So if you're feeling like, hey, I see some areas where I want something to be different, or I want improvement, but you're not sure where to start, find somebody who has the thing that you want and ask them, what do you do? Like, how do you start your day? How do you keep yourself so fit? How do you stay motivated? And ask them questions. And then from those answers, take one little tiny nugget of what they've told you and go implement that.
And it's so what ends up happening, it's achievable. It's measurable. You did it. You did it. This releases dopamine, right? Which is the motivation chemical that says, oh, that felt good. Do it again, right? And so there's another piece to this that is incredibly important, is a little bit of social proof too. So when I tell you, whenever I want to make sure that I'm going to do something, like that I'm going to bring it into existence, or that I'm going to stick with it, or I'm going to execute it, I tell my wife. Right. And then if I'm really serious about it, I tell my 3 or 4 closest friends. And if I'm hell bent on it, I tell the world. I post it on social media, or I tell, my teams or whatever it is, right? Because then it's like, oh, it's out there. I know it's out there. That gives me a layer of accountability, and that just fortifies it a little bit, right?
Yeah. I would have a word of caution for that.
Yeah.
If you have something that's like a bigger dream or vision for you, not everybody in your life is going to understand what it's like a plant, but it starts out as a little seed. And so my word of caution is I would be careful with those seeds, because if you're not really absolute in your belief yet about what you're trying to manifest or what you're trying to create in your life, those seeds can be killed really easily by other people's limiting beliefs and thoughts that their paradigms, their perspectives. So that would be my word of caution about that, is just, if it is something that's still really fragile and new, work on fostering your belief around it by making these small incremental shifts and becoming that person that is the person who brings that thing to life. Get a little stronger in that, grow a little bit of root on that seed before you go around and start sharing it with people, unless you know that they're really in your close-knit support system that are going to nurture it.
Well, let's clarify what I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about telling the world about my big goals.
Yeah. Just your incremental shift.
I'm talking about my incremental shifts. I'm talking about my 1 degree difference. I'm talking about, hey, I'm going to work out for 15 minutes a day, every single day, the rest of my life. Ooh, that's real, right? I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes a day, no matter what, right? I'm going to take one conscious breath every day, the rest of my life. I'm going to be a practitioner that I'm committing to this path of saying every single day, I'm going to be aware of my breath, right? I'm talking about that type of, I'm not saying that I'm going to build a global coaching business or I'm going to, whatever it is, right? That's not what I was thinking about.
I think that it can be.
So the accountability is the practice of speaking, because it's not about whether or not you hold it to, they see you not doing it. It's the fact that you now spoke it into existence. There's a vibration that happens. There's a spell that we're putting on ourselves when we speak. So we speak like, oh, geez, I wish I could work out more. Or, geez, I wish I could be healthier. Right? You're casting these spells of wish and hope that don't land. But I am doing this thing. I am making this shift. Right? The accountability really has nothing to do with the other person. Has everything to do with you speaking it into existence.
I agree with you on that, but I think that there are some situations where someone can get excited and want to tell people and maybe not have those supportive people in their life, and it can have the opposite effect, because then they go, well, what was I thinking? Nobody believes I can do this. Well, right.
And that's a different podcast about your circle of influence. That's a different podcast. And then about your own internal, being able to create your own internal belief structure that has nothing to do with anybody else around you.
Right. And I think that the part of how you do that is by making these little incremental shifts, because every time that you follow through on your 5 minutes a day or whatever it is that you're doing, you start to build credibility with yourself. Absolutely. And then you become stronger and stronger in your confidence and, your belief that you can make bigger changes as you go.
Yeah. No, I just wrote down an idea. We can do a podcast about belief and about your vision and the mission that you have in life and the impact that you want to make. I mean, that's another conversation for a later date, where there's been a lot of steps along the way where people couldn't see what I could see. Right. And now they're like, oh, I'm starting to see what you've been seeing this whole time. I'm like, yeah, because it's actually happening. But it was happening in here. That's a whole different conversation. But I think one of the pieces too, beyond the accountability, again, it's about us speaking. Like when I speak something out loud, there's a vibration that happens. There's a resonance that happens. There's a message that happens, right? That is lasting. It's lasting, right? So that's what I was speaking about. So when we tell people about what we're doing, what we're taking on, why it's important to us, the shifts that we're making, like I have a much higher probability of actually holding my attention on those things. And then the final piece is to celebrate. Yeah. And even in the mental health world, they talk about glimpses of goodness. If you can help somebody who's even in a very dark place see some sort of little glimpse of goodness, a little crack of the window, right? A little light has been let in, a little fresh air has been let in. Like that's like, oh, there's a little bit of hope there. And then it's about being able to link glimpses of goodness together. So we've used the word celebrate or glimpses of goodness. It's the same thing to me. It's the idea of being able to recognize and the win that you had today. So at the end of the day, being able to look back and say like, oh, I held that minimum up and I did that and I made that shift, and look at me go. Good. Tomorrow, what kind of shift am I going to make? I
think we don't recognize all of the little things that we're doing because we haven't intentionally set them out as minimums, right? It's like, okay, you just took a drink of water. Way to go. Like that's a goal. So
are you talking about me?
Yeah. Like you just took a drink of water. And so if you didn't set a minimum or an incremental shift or some type of micro goal for yourself to say, I want to drink more water as one of your things, at the end of the day, you could have done lots of little wonderful things for yourself that you could see as glimpses of goodness or things to celebrate. But it's about having the intention on the front end of it so that you're, like you said, that attention probability is higher. You're able to see at the end of the day, okay, all right, now I can see I really did do XYZ that I set out to do today. So I can be proud of myself and feel accomplished. And that's going to keep me motivated to keep going.
Yeah, the glimpses of
Mhm.
goodness. So celebrate the things you're doing well, right? And where your attention goes, energy flows too.
Mhm.
So you hold your attention on the things that you're making shifts, and you're proud of yourself for those shifts, even though you maybe fill off the path over here in these other areas. That's fine. Still focus on what you're shifting and how you're changing and growing. If you place your
Mhm.
attention on that, that thing will grow.
Yeah.
More energy will add to it. You'll get
Mhm.
better at making the shifts, and that's going to create even more momentum. So not even just this, not just about just the accountability and just setting the minimums and just making these shifts. It's about celebrating legitimately, like
Mhm.
a sense of victory. Like, I did it. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it again. It's going to be 2 breaths, man. I'm going to go from 1 breath to 2 conscious breaths.
Mhm. Kind of reminds me of like right now I'm training the puppy. So
Yeah.
every time he goes where he's supposed to go outside, I'm like, you did it. It's like a
Celebration.
big celebration, a big deal. But
Yeah.
but that is how we train a puppy. That's how we can train ourselves to have a reward at the end that we are acknowledged for the work that we're doing to
Do you mind if
finish
I
it.
put you on the spot?
I don't care.
So let's play with this a little bit.
Mhm.
What is something that you want to be different?
What is something I want to be different right now? Right now I'm working on my time and energy management skills.
Time and energy management skills. Okay, Heidi, that sounds wonderful.
And I
Why
have
is
made some
why
incremental shifts recently as well. So
have you? Okay, good. So we're here about those in just a minute. Why is that important to you?
it's important to me because of the way that I want to feel at the end of the day when I pick my kids up from school. I don't want to feel depleted. I want to feel like I have energy
Mhm.
in reserve. And some of the things that I've recognized around that is like being that a lot of the work I do is on the computer.
Yeah, a lot of confusion.
I noticed that there's like a shift and my body needs like water and sunlight and movement and all of
Just
these
your body,
things.
or you said it's me?
Everyone's body.
Okay.
I'm talking about
You're
my
human.
experience.
Gotcha. You just
So
recognize a need for that personal, individually. You recognize, oh, I'm human and I need to move and I need to
right.
breathe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. So what's the impact of that? If you, at the end of the day, have a reserve of energy
Mhm.
and you're now better at your time management, your energy management, what's
Mhm.
the
Well,
impact
the
of that?
impact
What do you
is
see at the end?
yeah, the impact is my experience throughout the day. And number one, um, feeling less scattered or frustrated with what I'm trying to do because I'm taking breaks and I'm going and, getting out and walking or having a glass of water, getting some sunlight. And I can layer all of these things, right? I can take my shoes off, I can put my feet in the grass, I can get some sun exposure, I can walk around, I can drink some water, I can breathe. All of those things. It's not like I have to
So
drink water,
let's
ground,
I
walk.
want to ask you about the layering thing in a minute because I want to
Mhm.
know what you mean by that, because I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure what you mean by that. I'd love to
Mhm.
learn from you on that. But I'm gonna first ask you, like, give me an example,
Mhm.
because maybe somebody listening has they recognize that they maybe aren't as good at time management and energy management as they could be, and they recognize that their life could be benefited because of it if
Mhm.
they did, right? And they really resonate with what you're just saying. So
Yeah.
give me an example of something that you're doing towards
Mhm.
that is a minimum or a shift that you're making today or that you plan on making tomorrow.
Yeah. So one that I'm already doing that I've started recently is having set times for checking like voicemails and emails. Because I think if we're checking our email at the beginning of the day, you're really getting hijacked by what everybody else needs from you, as opposed to taking care of your needs and what your priorities are first. So that's something that I've been doing just recently is setting specific times in my planner and time blocking that out and saying at this time I will check voicemail and I will check email. I will make a list of everything that I need to follow up with and I will spend, this amount of time following up and then I'm done with that for the day.
Yeah. So curious,
Instead of just reacting every time a voicemail or an email comes through.
how do you remind yourself that this is the time blocking you're taking on until it becomes natural? There's something you need to probably do. And again, this is not me like projecting, this is me
Mhm.
curious. Something you need to do to like stay in that rhythm, right? So for example, I have taken on a whole new morning routine. I have taken on a whole new structure to my week.
Mhm.
My schedule has shifted because of where my attention and energy is needed and where it's focused. So I actually wrote it out on my board and right here in front of us,
Mhm.
my whiteboard of like what I'm focusing on each day,
Mhm.
because otherwise it'd be Monday and I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do again today? Because my life is that unknown compared to what it
Yeah.
was a year ago,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It was very clear. I knew exactly what needed to be done a year ago. There was all this work on my plate and I had to do it. Now I'm a little bit more in a place of content creating. So my question to you
Mhm.
is, how do you remind yourself to do something so small as, hey, I'm going to turn my phone off during these hours and check the emails at this time? Because I think that what ends up happening for most people is that that's a great intention. They
Mhm.
practice that on Monday or let's say Tuesday. By Wednesday, kind of wake up, they forget about it, and they're
Mhm.
back to the old ways, and they realize, oh man, it's Friday, I'm feeling depleted. Oh, I didn't stick to it.
Mhm.
So, what is something that maybe you have used or plan on using that's going to remind you? Like, is there a note that you put on your computer that says,
I've done all of those things. I've used notes at different times. Like at one point, I noticed I kept going to the pantry unconsciously, and so I put a post-it note on the pantry that said, "Are you hungry?"
what are you doing or something?
Right. Oh, so are you hungry? Right. Because if you're not actually hungry, you're just eating out of boredom or because you're trying to transition from one task to another or whatever.
Mm.
So I've also like moved apps in my phone to different folders, like my social media apps, and I labeled that folder, "What am I doing?" So I try to ask myself questions that kind of wakes me back up if I'm going into an unconscious pattern of like doing things the way I always have, um, to become aware of, okay, am I hungry? Oh, actually, I'm not hungry. I think I'm thirsty right now. I'm going to go ahead and get a glass of water and then go back and do what I need to do. Or, I'm just feeling like I need to get up in my right now away from the computer. So I came in here to the pantry, but actually what I really need to do, what would really be good for me is to walk outside. So just little pattern interrupts to help you recognize what you're doing. That's really helped a lot for me. And then putting things in my planner and time blocking them. So if there's a time that I'm going to check email or voicemail, just saying, this is where I'm going to do follow-ups
Yeah. So
and then writing it in there.
are you even saying that sounds like you're even scheduling, uh, or are you scheduled? I don't know. Like
Mhm.
the idea of stepping outside and having the sun hit your face, or
I'm not scheduling that right now. I think that's something I could look at doing, like
that could be another.
breaking up the day, because I know I have, X number of hours while the kids are at school that is basically my work day. And then there's certain things like group client calls and things like that that are kind of set in place. So just working around those things, I think you could easily schedule in reset drills is what we call them.
Yeah.
And having opportunities to layer some of these things. Like some of the things that I know are really helpful for me is water, sunlight, and movement.
So let's finish there. Let's wrap this up with, tell me what you mean by layering.
So layering is just basically what I'm doing, any of the activities that help meet some of my minimums, but I'm doing them combined together. So if I know that I want to drink water and I want to do some conscious breathing, that can all happen while I'm walking. And then if I want to do grounding and I want to take my shoes off and connect with the grass and the earth, I can take my shoes off, walk around, breathe, sip water, and
Little sunlight.
I'm getting sun exposure and time in nature. And I could also repeat a positive mantra in my head while I'm doing that, right? So you can like layer it to whatever level. Start with like two things. I'm going to walk and consciously pay attention to my breathing while I'm walking, or I'm going to drink my water outside and get sun exposure while I'm drinking my water.
Yeah, that's an integrated practice,
Yeah.
right? And it becomes more integrated where, you don't want to be living a prison of mindfulness, but
Yeah.
because we can become too mindful.
Well, I
But-
guarantee
but-
you're already doing some of these things. You're just not realizing that you are doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of
and
people
appreciating it in the moment, like really feel the grass and
Yeah.
feel the sun and appreciate the
Mhm.
breath and enjoy the water. Like
Yeah.
stir the water and enjoy it. Right.
a lot of people are probably, maybe you're on a walk right now and you're listening to this podcast. You're kind of layering those things together. You're listening to something that hopefully inspires you. That's our goal. Want to inspire you and get you to think in different ways. So you're doing that and you're moving your body and you're probably outside and getting some time in sunlight and nature. And maybe you have a water bottle with you. Boom. You just layered some things up right there. So I think you can do that really naturally and not recognize that you're doing it. But when you start to see the components that help you to show up as the best version of yourself and you kind of dissect what those are, then you can create a recipe that's going to work for you to make those little shifts each day and take time out to do the things that you need to do to feel good.
I love that you just
Yeah.
used the word recipe. I had this model at one point that I was writing about when it came to thinking of fine dining.
Mm-hmm.
And what goes into a fine dining, like you have to have the table set, there's a tablecloth, and
Mhm.
it's silverware is in a certain place, and you have water maybe, but there's also maybe a second drink of
Mhm.
some sort of a beverage or something, and then the ingredients that goes into the meal and timing the meal up of how you're cooking it, and then the presentation, and there's an appetizer,
Mhm.
and then a main entree, and then a dessert. And this whole experience of fine dining is really this beautiful experience that we can engage in developing, creating, constructing us as a human, as a person, the version of ourselves, the life we want to live, the impact we want to make. Like it's like fine dining. Like
Mhm.
first lay out the tablecloth, right? You have to have
Mhm.
the surface of which you're going to build your life upon, right? And this is that type of approach. You don't set the table all at once. You don't throw the dishes and the cups and the forks and everything out there all at the same time.
Right.
You set
You have
one,
to layer it.
you layer it. You put
Mhm.
one thing down at a time and you put it in a specific place
Mhm.
until it becomes just routine, right?
Mhm.
It becomes just part of you. Like, of course, I step outside while I'm drinking my coffee and feel the sun hit my face, and while I take a few conscious breaths and think of something I'm grateful for. Of
Mhm.
course, it's what I do
Mhm.
because it's what I've been doing for years.
Mhm.
And to be able then to notice and recognize the power of these 1 degree shifts over the course of not just 30, 60, 90 days, 180 days, but imagine that you
Yeah.
could do this for 4, 5 years, 10 years,
Mhm.
right? How your life could continuously, spontaneously improve,
Mhm.
right? And to celebrate those things. Well, I want to celebrate you because that was wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Let me put you on the spot like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
We are always growing and evolving, and I want to put that out there. Like we're teaching what we're living, what we're doing. It's not about any kind of mountaintop here. There's no there. It's you're always growing if you're doing it right, and you're always realizing and being humbled by realizing that you have more to learn or ways that you can improve yourself and your lifestyle, and so that you can make an impact. That's what we're all here for, is like Ryan said, to have meaning and purpose in our life. And I think one of the things that we used to have at our first house that we owned together, we had this sign. I don't know if you remember it. It said, "Make each day your masterpiece."
Nope, don't remember it.
So that's kind
good.
of
I like it.
What I'm thinking I'd like to close with, and maybe you have a few other remarks, but I just want to say, every day is a new opportunity to stop and smell the flowers, to listen to the birds sing, to be present in your life. And making these little incremental shifts is a great way to start to really step into experiencing that more fully.
Yeah.
So make each day your masterpiece.
And that's done by linking glimpses of goodness together.
Mm-hmm.
Right? One glimpse of goodness, one little shift, then another. No more New Year's resolutions. I'm thinking about making a shirt. It says no more New Year's resolutions, incremental shifts towards the life that you want.
Yeah.
So,
And make it fun. Have fun with
Yeah.
it.
so,
Yeah.
so figure out something you want to shift and set a minimum, and then, speak it. Tell people about it.
Mhm.
Tell yourself about it. Write it down. Hold yourself
Yeah.
accountable, and then celebrate it.
And I have another idea. If you listen to this podcast and there's something that you're going to shift, maybe you're going to drink more water, maybe you're going to spend more time in nature, or some, some other idea, share it on social media and tag us at integrated.mindset and share this episode with somebody. We would love that if you'd leave us a review, share the podcast. This is what helps more people find the show. And that's one of our goals, is to really grow this show so that we can reach more people and make a bigger impact with this work. So we just want to thank you for listening.
Thank you for your time and attention.